tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting. Shout out to inside fighting.
We're back. It is the Fight Season Podcast. It's me, Jesse Rowe, with Inside Fighting, joined as always by Inside Fighting's head writer, Timothy James. Timmy's not at his best today, but he's going to power through this nonetheless. Timmy Shoes, MMA on X. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. COVID can't stop me. The fight game never sleeps, and neither does Timmy Shoes. That's why we're here doing this podcast.
It's true.
Always a pleasure.
Timmy, I'm going to cut right to the chase here because I really want to know what you have to say about this. I have not spoken to you about this yet. Normally, we share our takes off air. I have not spoken to you about this yet, so I want to get your fresh take on the fight of the century was announced this morning. Jake Paul will be fighting Iron Mike Tyson July 20th on Netflix at the AT&T Stadium where the Dallas Cowboys play. I made a TikTok about it earlier today. I shared my thoughts on it. I'm curious as to what your thoughts are.
Fuck Jake Paul.
Okay.
What an asshole.
Yeah.
Seriously though, I was one of the guys who said you have to respect what he's done and all his popularities, getting these boxing fights done. And, he did some good things for boxing that even Mike Tyson said. He was happy that the Logan brothers were around, making boxing popular again.
The Logan brothers. I like that. That's hilarious.
But I said the Logan brothers. I did. Oh, well.
I love that.
We want that to be a thing. Let's call them the Logan brothers from now on.
That.
This is shameless. I think Mike Bisping had a great reaction. He's called it shameful. It's absolutely shameful. I hope two things. I hope Mike Tyson makes 5 times as much money as Jake Paul does, and I also hope he knocks Jake Paul out in the first round.
So I lean towards you on this. I'm not quite there in terms of it's super shameful, but it is shameful, actually. I think that's actually an okay adjective to use, because here's the thing about it. Jake Paul has made this huge deal about how he wants to be a boxing champion, how he wants to be taken seriously as a boxer, wants to be a boxing champion. So he went and he fought 2 real boxers, Ryan Borland and Andre August. They were Golden Gloves champions. They are no longer in their prime. They're in their mid-30s. I get it. But they are still current professionals. They're still active professionals in boxing. Yeah, he knocked him out first round. They were predetermined outcomes. There was no chance that neither one of them stood a chance. I get it. And I even said last time on Insider Betting, I said this fight with Ryan Borland was fucking bullshit. It was fixed. It was ridiculous. Yep. That's predetermined outcome. I said that, but I still considered it a real fight. That it was still it was just a typical boxing fight, like you said, and we've lamented about boxing this whole time, which is that there are these stepping stone fights where they put a tomato can in front of you and you knock them out, and then it builds your profile as a boxer. This is so different. This is a 57-year-old man who was once one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time, who has sustained brain injuries from boxing, who has been beaten up through many training camps, who was worn down at the end of his career, said he didn't have it anymore. In his famous post-fight interview when he lost his final fight, he said, "I don't have it anymore." And his last fight was against 51-year-old Roy Jones Jr. at the time. He's now 55, but it was in 2020. They had an exhibition, which was a draw. He didn't even beat a 51-year-old Roy Jones Jr. Roy Jones Jr. just lost to Anthony Pettis in a boxing match. Jake Paul is 27 years old, has some of the best boxing tools and training availability at his disposal. This fight is insane. And he legitimately could actually hurt Mike Tyson. Sorry, I know I'm ranting here, but it really pissed me off. In his post, he said, Iron Mike is going to sleep. And yeah, I know Mike Tyson's his own man. He has autonomy as a human being. He can choose to take the fight. I get all that. But he said, Iron Mike's going to sleep. In his last fight, Timmy, he called out Canelo in his post-fight interview. Said he wants to fight Canelo. How is this going to get you on your path to fighting Canelo and being a champion? It proves nothing. And also, could you imagine if Canelo Alvarez said, for my next fight, I'm going to fight Mike Tyson. And Iron Mike goes to sleep. 58-year-old Mike Tyson is going to go to sleep. Jake Paul would be calling it shameful if that happened. Would he not?
Yep.
Do you think that Jake Paul would be like, oh, what a great get. Oh, this fight's fucking dope. No, Jake Paul would be saying it's fucking shameful, that this is spoiling, this is rotting the apple core of boxing. That's what he'd be saying. And that's what he doesn't fucking get about it. And it's just, it's internet fodder for selling a fight.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I was gonna say this. Nobody cared about the Andre August or the, what was it, Peter Borland? I forgot the guy's name already.
Or Peter Boylan from the Atlanta
Boylan.
Braves. No, Ryan
No.
Boylan.
Ryan
Boylan.
Borland. There you go.
Yeah.
Nobody watched those fights. Nobody tuned in. Nobody cared. And this is the response that you're like, all right, Jake Paul is not a big enough name to generate any interest unless he's fighting someone with a big name. It's funny. He started fighting MMA guys in their 40s, and then he fought Anderson Silva, who was almost 50. Now he's fighting a guy who's almost 60. It's like, at some point he's going to be fighting, George Foreman or something who's in his 70s.
Yeah.
So,
No, I saw a joke on Twitter. It was Jake Paul versus Muhammad Ali in the works.
yep.
Muhammad Ali is dead, by the way.
Yeah.
But it was still
I think George Foreman passed away too, didn't he? I
think Foreman's still around. Is he? I don't know. Maybe he's gone. I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw someone else make the joke that then his next opponent's going to be Bruce Lee. They're going to dig Bruce Lee up.
Yeah.
Because not a boxer, and also, he's in the right age range.
Now, look, am I going to watch the fight? Yeah, of course I'm going to watch the fight. It's super intriguing. And it's obviously gross. But with all that being said, Timmy, I know that you and I have just like gone off about how gross this is and how it's like whether or not we don't know yet also if this is an exhibition or if this is going to count on Jake Paul's professional record. We don't know yet. Because if it's an exhibition, this could just be a sparring match that's going to con people out of, into Netflix.
I imagine,
subscriptions.
if I'm just speculating here, I think it has to be an exhibition because no boxing commission is going to approve a fight between a 27-year-old coming off back-to-back knockouts against a 57-year-old.
Okay.
So it 100% will be an exhibition.
So it could be a way to boost like Netflix subscriptions. They had some issues with subscriptions last year, over the past couple of years, where they literally, because they were cracking down on people sharing password sharing. Remember that? They cracked down on that. You can no longer share passwords outside of your household. So this could be Netflix's way of getting into sports, because Netflix is also teaming up with WWE. WWE is going to start streaming on Netflix as well. So I think we're going to start seeing some more sports on Netflix. That's going to be a way to boost subscriptions. But even if this is just an exhibition, then that means that they're just conning you out of subscription money. And it's bogus. But I had a point, and now it's like slipping my mind.
Of all the things about this fight, I will say that the cool thing is that it's going to be on Netflix. I think if more fights are just included in your subscription for Netflix and you don't have to pay an extra pay-per-view, I like that. I mess with that. I don't want it to be this fight.
I know.
But,
so that's the problem, is that it's this fight is the one that's going to be the first one ever on Netflix. This is the one you guys chose.
Yeah.
So I do want to say this, though. Whether it's an exhibition or it's a real fight, it's probably an exhibition. You're probably right. They wouldn't sanction it. All that being said, I still think Iron Mike could knock Jake Paul the fuck out. I don't care.
Absolutely.
It's Mike Tyson, still Mike Tyson. I still think he could land one on Jake, and I will be rooting for it so hard. And that's the problem here, is I'm going to be rooting for it. And what's going to happen? It's going to go to a lame decision where there's no judges. You're not going to get a decision because it's going to be an exhibition. It's just going to go. So, and all of that. Have you seen the photos going around of Mike Tyson with a cane being taken through the airport in a wheelchair?
Yep. I've seen him.
I mean, he could be a great grandfather. It's crazy. So anyways, go ahead.
Remember when Logan Paul fought Floyd Mayweather in an exhibition and he had to say to him, calm down, bro. It's just an exhibition. I can imagine a scenario where Jake Paul touches gloves. He's like, all right, Mike, we're going to have, a good show. It's going to be an exhibition. And then Mike's going to be like, shut the fuck up and just cracks him and knocks him out. Best case scenario, honestly. Put it in the books. That's what I want to see.
I know. If Jake Paul is on steroids, I hope there's no drug testing so they can just shoot Iron Mike Tyson up with some of the best fucking TRT imaginable so that he rolls into that fight just juiced up, angry. I want him to have roid rage when he steps into that fight. That's what I want from Mike Tyson. Either way, we wait to see July 20th. It's happening June 20th or July 20th. I forget, but
yeah. Just one more note. This is a little bit more somber. I know I've been shitting on Jake Paul a lot, but it sucks as someone who was such a big fan of Mike Tyson, not just as a fighter, but at his story. He's a guy who's been exploited a lot. And the first thing I thought was like, I know he signed the fight. He's got a lot of good things going on. Doesn't seem like he needs money. But at the same time, I was like, why is he doing this? Maybe he's being taken advantage of. Maybe they offered him such a ridiculous amount of money that he couldn't say no. It sucks feeling like, is he getting exploited again like he did when he was, with Don King and all that?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think he is in this case. I mean, he did say on the FIGHT SZN podcast a couple of years back that he thinks that he could beat up Jake Paul easily. And that was when he was like 54 years old or something when he said that. So I do think there's an element of Mike that wants this fight, that wants to test himself. But this is the problem with older fighters, is that like they never really know when to say no, because you're always, it's not like baseball, where like you're an older, like Jose Canseco can go play in a softball league and still get that juice of playing the game. When you're a fighter, you have to go in and take punches from somebody, and it's like, it's just different. It's not a sport. It's not a game. It's combat. And it could end really badly for him. Renato Moicano tweeted out, like, we could literally watch an old man die in the ring if Jake Paul punches him too hard, which is why I wonder, is there a limit to how hard they're allowed to punch? Like there could be something fishy going on with this fight, to be perfectly honest, but wait to see.
People float the idea of a no knockout clause. I don't know how that would work in practice, but
how would it even work? Yeah. Like Jake Paul could kick him on the chin and Mike could just have that old chin and you could fall. Your head hits and then he falls and then his knees buckle, his head hits the mat. So anyway, this is dark. This is getting dark.
Yes. Turning into $1 Million Baby over here.
Let's kind of go. We're going to end here. We're going to, let's be very quick about this. I'm guessing you saw this PFL card go down. Cedric Doumbe fought, who was the guy that he was fighting? Dagestani guy?
Yeah, his name is Baki. I forgot his full name. Yeah.
So obviously the fight ended very unceremoniously and very poorly for the PFL, who has made a huge investment in Cedric Doumbe as their star. Obviously the UFC famously did not sign him, and a lot of fans feel like that was a huge missed opportunity, a chance to grow in France and Europe, and Doumbe elected to go with the PFL. And this was bizarre. I mean, they were fighting in the ring. You might be able to explain better what happened, but did a piece of glass get into his foot? Is that what happened? Because Marc Goddard just said, fuck this, and he called off the fight. Explain it.
It was originally reported as a piece of glass. Then now the reports are saying that it was a splinter. And Doumbe was asking Marc Goddard to pause the fight so that it could be taken out. Now, there are rules on the books that if a fighter is injured or there's some sort of malfunction with any of the equipment, that it would, and he's unable to fight, that it would be ruled a no contest. But in the case of a splinter, the ringside physician can be called in to examine it, take it out. Judging from the pictures that I saw, it would have been a thing that could have been taken out. At the same time, the way that Doumbe went about it, because he stopped fighting and he kept asking, and that made Marc Goddard, I guess, get angry. He could have fought through it. The splinter, I don't know how much it was bothering him. But I feel like guys have fought through worse things than a splinter in his toe. And not to drag him down or anything, but I think if he had waited between rounds and then had said between rounds, hey, I have a splinter, tell the ringside doc, let's get this out. And I would not be surprised also if this gets turned into a no contest by the commission review.
Well, if you want to talk about soft, this would be, you just throw this up next to the image of John Jones winning the UFC championship belt with his toe basically severed off of his foot, bent to the left side. I forget who he fought. It wasn't Machida. It was somebody else. I forget who it was.
I think it was Machida.
Was it? And his toe was dislocated, was broken towards the left. And he didn't even notice. His adrenaline was piercing through his body, obviously. So he didn't notice until afterwards. So I lay a little bit of blame on Marc Goddard here because I lay a little bit of blame on the language barrier because Doumbe does not speak amazing English. He was trying to tell Marc Goddard, and Goddard looked down. I don't think he understood what Doumbe was saying, if I'm being honest. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, Baki and him are sort of like face to face, just standing there. And then nobody's doing anything for like maybe 5 or 6 seconds. And then Baki goes, do you want to just take care of it? Just take care of it. I think that's what happened, is that Baki looks down at his foot and says, just fucking take care of it. Let's go. Basically saying, hey, fix your foot and let's fight. And then, so Doumbe goes to Goddard like, hey, like, let's take, and Goddard steps in. He's like, what's going on? And he says, hey, he said to take care of it. I don't think Goddard understood what was going on, and then just says, fuck this, fight's over. I don't blame Goddard. I think he actually handled it probably correctly. I just think that, like, there was a language barrier where, like, it was a little bit impatient. I might be wrong on that.
I think he was a little bit too quick.
In between rounds, if he had waited 100%, this would have been handled way differently. But that's, to me, how I'm reading the situation of how this went down.
You can't call off a fight because I'm assuming the rule that he called off the fight was timidity, which is very rare. I don't know if you know what timidity is in the octagon.
Did you see that Herb Dean handed out a red card at one championship just last week for timidity?
Oh, he did? Oh, I didn't know that.
And Chatri fined the fighter. I forget who it was. He fined the guy like half his purse for it and removed and called him a shame to India. It was an Indian fighter.
Wow.
Called him a shame to his country.
That's intense. I did not know that. I'm going to look that up.
They also fined Jared Brooks his entire fight purse for dropping that dude on his head. And then they negotiated it back to get half of it. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. One championship is cutthroat, bro.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Any place that allows soccer kicks, pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think Marc Goddard was a little bit too trigger happy, a little bit too quick on the trigger. I think if there was a language barrier, he should have asked for the translators. There was probably 2 there. There's probably one for Russian and one for French. And maybe he thought it was an injury. Maybe he waved it off as a TKO. I think that's what it was officially scored as, a TKO. What I want to know is, when did he get the splinter? Yeah. How did it happen? Because I saw the highlights, but I didn't see the walkout. Did it happen during walkout? Was it a problem with
that? I didn't see this. I only saw it on Twitter.
There, under the canvas is wood. There's a wood plank usually. I don't know if like splinter could come through the canvas, or how you would get a splinter from the wood under the canvas, or if it happened backstage. But if it happened backstage, why didn't he take care of it then? I don't know. There are more details that have to come out before we can really make a firm decision. I do think Marc Goddard was quick, and I do expect this to get overturned to a no contest, and those two will probably fight again.
Fair enough. And this is, the last thing I'm going to end on is what a disaster this is for PFL, because they really need this. They really need him. They need Doumbe to work. This was like their big, they had all the attention on them Thursday, no other fights.
Yep.
This happens. Pretty bad.
Let me tell you something about Andrew. This is my boy right here. You disrespect him, you're disrespecting me.
Inside fighting. Shout out to Inside Fighting.